how do I know Ed? Ed was a feature for one of my clients called the Duke Endowment.
Okay.
And we were working on two projects. One, we'd do something called Profile of Service.
Okay.
And his church, which he's not at now, he's just had a new appointment, was deploying a new summer literacy program. And so we came and visited with him about that and kind of featured him and what he was doing in that world of summer literacy. And so I will share the video with you in just a minute of our focus on him. And then another reason why I got excited about Ed is when I visited there and I was taking pictures inside the service, I looked over and his wife and daughter, I think it was his daughter, had a tripod set up with a phone live streaming like a year and a half ago. And so he was doing this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that's cool. You know, here we are in a rural United Methodist church and he is live streaming this guy with his phone on Facebook Live. So that's how I kind of got introduced to Ed. And Ed and I have kind of stayed in contact, and I really have followed. I have a big heart for the rural church in North Carolina. So I love when I meet many of the individuals in the rural church, I try to stay connected with them. So Tuhina and I went to grad school together here at Clemson through the Master of Arts in Professional Communications program. And then she and her husband decided, hey, we're going to go to California. And they live in California. And now she is a Lutheran minister.
Correct.
And the church that she's in, what's the name of the church?
AME's. I'm in a specialized call with the Lutheran Church serving an AME Zion church.
Oh, how sweet is that? I love it.
It's pretty incredible, let me tell you what.
I went to Hood Theological Seminary.
Okay.
Which is an AME Zion seminary. That's why I got my doctorate from there.
Nice.
Yeah. And I did my research on the two rural churches I was serving at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Ed.
Oh, and I used a portion of my thesis for my sermon yesterday. So it was really fresh on my mind when you said Hood. I was like, yeah, so anyway, right. So that's cool. AME Zion, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why I've been trying to get people together and Tuhina and I have started on this journey together. We've reconnected after many years, and mainly because of obviously this whole coronavirus situation. I run a blog called The Digital Church, where I talk about the intersection of digital communication and church, mainly because I'm the communications chair at my church. And so we're doing all these things digital with a mainline church that's aging. So it's an interesting intersection. Mm-hmm. And so Tuhina has been really doing a lot of work with virtual spaces with her church. And so we're like, we need to start talking to pastors and ministers on what they're doing now and what the church looks like now and what they think about the church is going to happen and what, just this whole broad range of conversation related to digital technology in the church. And so I was like, Ed is the first person that I connected with. We got to talk to Ed.
Wow.
So I'm recording this conversation. We're going to be creating a podcast with all these interviews. And then I'm also going to post this visual side of it on the Digital Church. And so really, I just wanted to connect us all today and just kind of get us going. Ed, tell us really about you and your appointment and a little bit about what you're up to right now.
Okay. I have been appointed to Stokesdale United Methodist Church, which is in the northwest corner of Guilford County. It is a bedroom community of Greensboro, and High Point and Winston. And I'm sorry, my internet went unstable there for a second, so pardon me. I was reported here in July, and This church is really in a great position to grow, in that people are just moving in, and old farms are now being neighborhoods, and we have a diverse, an age diverse congregation, and we also are right in the middle of downtown, so we have high visibility. We are trying to figure out what's next. Our mission statement is reflecting God's love in the heart of the community, and we were or are in the middle of what that looks like for us. We started doing online worship in earnest at this church on Christmas Eve. I decided on a whim to put my camera on a tripod and put it in the way back of the church, and I didn't have anybody to operate it until a young man who's 16 years old, who has Asperger's and autism, who has a really hard time focusing during worship, walks in, and I said to the young man, "Hey, would you like to work the camera during Christmas Eve?" And he said, "Yeah, that'd be great. How do I do it?" And I said, just make sure nobody bumps into it. and just whenever someone's talking, just guide it over to whoever's talking, and you'll be fine. And he did great. And we've been doing it. He's been in the front row of the church every Sunday,
Cool.
videotaping the worship service, or on an iPad, on his own iPad. And then so that has been a great ministry, an opportunity for him to minister. The church loves it because now the young man has something to focus on during worship, and he really engages in worship. I mean, when I ask a rhetorical question, he answers, and so when coronavirus happened, we got a call from the bishop saying no worship services, but we had a funeral already scheduled. So that was the Saturday before Sunday, no worship. So I set up the iPad in the back left-hand corner of the sanctuary, and it's on our website, by the way. The whole funeral is on our website, so that people could watch from home.
Oh.
And that didn't keep people from being there. There was still 300 people there. But there were some people from California who could attend the worship service via online. And the reason why I didn't do it way up front is because all you would see is casket. So we back left-hand corner of the sanctuary, you could see the whole sanctuary, and people who were camera shy didn't have to worry about a camera in their face, and they didn't have to worry about showing emotion because you couldn't really see it. So all in all, that was a great event. And then the next Sunday, which was the 9th, the 15th, I guess. I've done two. The 15th we did
84 years ago.
What?
84 years ago.
Yeah, 84 years ago. Yeah, exactly. So the 15th, I brought a TV in the sanctuary so I could show slides of the hymns, and brought in the pianist, my family of 4, and a couple other people, and we did online worship on the 15th, and then again on yesterday. And technically speaking, obviously yesterday was a little bit better than the week before. It's getting better with time. And yeah, and we've got, this morning, I got a note from somebody I do not know from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It was a thank you note saying, "Thank you so much for bringing us home, quote unquote, and it had a big fat check in it. So that was great. I don't know how much it was, but it was significant because the secretary said so. So yeah, we got a financial contribution from somebody from Florida for our online worship. That was really great. I'm really pushing during online worship.
If they were previous members or
I did not recognize the name. I really didn't. So yeah, well, I'll stay tuned. So yeah.
Okay.
That's my story right now. That's it.
So, Tuhina, you had a question.
Well, yeah, I think it's like, what was the impetus of just like putting the camera in the, like putting your phone in the back like a year ago?
Oh, back Christmas time?
Yeah.
Because I did it in my previous church where I met Bobby, sorry. That's where I met Bobby. And what the impetus was was a snowstorm in January in 2017, I think.
Okay.
We had a huge snowstorm that prevented everybody from going to church. And so I did worship basically from my study, just like we are now. I went through the whole bulletin, the whole order of service. I showed YouTube videos of the hymns and all that stuff. Totally violated every copyright law ever. And but I had that. I think we had 300 Facebook accounts watch the service, and we have 80 people who come to church every Sunday. So and then the next day, when it quit snowing, a company that does apps for churches gives me a call and asks me, I said, what is your online presence? And I said, oh my God, it was nothing up until 3 days ago. And then it just exploded. So through them, we began an app and online giving and a bunch of other things.
Can I ask what the name of the app is?
It is, go to eChurch or PushPay.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. eChurch or PushPay. They called me. It was a cold call. They did not know what I've been doing. So we went through them. There's lots of people who do that, but they just happen to call. Okay. So that was it.
I remember when I first visited your church, I was running around taking pictures in your sanctuary. And back to our initial story, there was someone sitting in the front row with a phone on a tripod. And one of the things that I thought was fascinating, a person with gadgets, person that uses cameras, all this stuff. Most people would say, hey, what camera should I buy? How would I connect it to my phone to get the internet connection out so that I could live stream it? And you just bypassed all of it and just put a phone on a tripod and hit Facebook Live and went.
Yeah.
You kept it simple. What made you keep it simple instead of just going, I'm going to buy a camera and all this other stuff? Kind of talk me through the logic there.
Oh, we had no budget.
Yeah. I mean, that's simple.
Right. Yeah. If you have, and what let's see, I borrowed a tripod and and you can, on Amazon or any other online retailer, you can search iPod stands for tripods, or I just got a bracket. I don't have mine with me, I just got a bracket that you can screw onto any tripod, and it makes your camera it makes your phone a camera, a
Right.
stationary camera.
And
Have y'all
really,
seen have you seen one of those?
yeah. I mean, there's so many
Okay,
different
good.
brackets.
Mhm.
I even, what's his name, Jason Viegas up over in a Hosky in Murfreesboro, basically just took his camera or his phone and put it on a little tripod, a little movable
Right.
tripod, and set it on the actually up at the podium where he
Right.
was preaching, and just put it right there and use that. So it's interesting to see how different people are doing it. How about in this time period, are you doing anything else? Like, how are people connecting outside of just the service? Are you using any other technologies, like for, I don't know, for maybe a Sunday school, or what are the other things that y'all are doing?
We're going to use. I've emailed my Sunday school teachers to encourage them to do online learning, teleconferencing, whatever. They are using lower tech stuff, but they are connecting with their students, sending out YouTube videos, things like that. On the 31st, we're going to do a teleconference call for our administrative council meeting. We're just going to do a regular freeconferencecall.com thing that my administrative council chair is going to lead. So because we had a full agenda for the administrative council prior to coronavirus. Now it's just tripled as far as what we need to talk about, as far as taking care of this community, finances, where do we go from here? What is our sanctuary going to look like after coronavirus? Or, I mean, because this church, I invite you to go to the website and look at last week's worship service, StokesdaleUMC.org. Click live, and you'll see that I put a TV in the sanctuary, and they've been talking about doing it for years. And now, and the people there are like, now we see what the value is of a screen in worship. So we've got to figure out how to do it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about.
I'm sitting here looking, I'm pulling this up right now. We actually, yesterday at Boulevard, we've been live streaming for about a year and kind of gotten prepared for it. You know, we have a camera, we have a piece of software we paid for to help us stream. But one of the things that we noticed yesterday is that when you don't have a congregation in the room, it's great for people standing up on the stage or the podium, having some sort of feedback loop, like seeing someone out there.
Right.
And so we're going to probably look at taking the output of the camera and putting it up on the screen in the back so they can see themselves talk. Or if someone, like for instance, if someone's leading the singing, they'll see what's being projected, so they have an idea of what they look like, so they know how. It's almost like seeing people in the audience, but then they see something to react to, and they know, oh, I should be looking around, or I shouldn't be looking straight ahead, or remind myself not to pick my nose, or some sort of feedback loop. And so that's something we're kind of thinking through as well. How and even our pastor, we had to record him at his house because he was quarantined. So we had to record his sermon at his house and take it and play it in the live stream. And he talked about the disconnectivity of talking to a camera. What has that been like for you?
Well, I felt really like when the service ended, and the first words of my mouth after we're off air was like, this quit being fun for a while, because I felt like my delivery felt flat. My sermon delivery just fell flat, because I didn't get the reactions that I was expecting from the 4 people in the church. And so humor, like in a sermon, just you get no reaction if you're by yourself. And if you try to be funny, and you had to be prepared for the fact that only you will think it's funny. And so you have to prepare yourself for that. Yeah. So like I said something like during children's time. I have 3 kids, so they were my children's time. It's great to breed your congregation, but
doing your part for evangelism.
Right. So I was sitting here, and I had 4 chairs in a row. I was sitting here, and the next 3 were sitting right beside me, and I said, off the cuff, "Gee, I feel like Jimmy Fallon." Nobody thought that was funny. Not even my wife, who was behind the camera. She was like, "Really?" So so I had to prepare myself for stuff like that. Just the lack of reaction, and also I put a lot of effort into the technology, into the PowerPoint, and making sure everybody else was where they needed to be. And that, I think that detracted from my sermon prep. And so I need to be aware of that. And it's a whole lot easier for me to do it rather than to teach somebody else.
Yeah.
I have a knack for that, for just figuring things out. And I get frustrated when trying to teach other people. You're making it too hard.
Yeah.
Just press play, Yeah. So it froze up. I said, turn it off and turn it back on again. I mean, that's all you got to do. So that's the kind of stuff that I have to deal with, is that I'm technologically savvy more than most. Mm-hmm. And so I have to be, but I'm also the pastor, and my job is to proclaim the word. And if I'm busy trying to get the word accessible to other people, that's kind of, I sacrifice one for the other. I'm talking a lot. Could y'all share? I want to hear what it's like in California, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. So I don't know where North Carolina is at right now, but the entire state of California is on lockdown. We're not locked down, we're shelter in place. So okay. It's kind of like, it's not as bad as lockdown, but so only going out for the essentials, so like to the grocery store for medical appointments. Pretty much at this point, only essential businesses are open. So grocery stores, banks, doctors, pharmacies. 6 feet of distance. If you're going into the outside world, you need to have 6 feet of distance between you and another individual. Mm-hmm. And so my brother is 6'3", so I just imagine my brother as my physical distance. But church has been odd. So I am one of the ministers on staff. So I work with the called AME Zion pastor, but I'm the minister of small groups. And so a lot of the work we've done has already been digital, that we've been doing for a year. So creating curriculum and content for our small groups that we do entirely online, because traffic in California is a nightmare. I don't want someone to sit in traffic for an hour and a half to go to an hour-long small group, because that resource of time, if I'm asking people to expend it in a gross way, I view that as bad stewardship of resources.
Right.
So part of what we're trying to do, what we've been trying to do is that because of economic inequality, people can't afford to live in Palo Alto because a 2-bed, 1-bath bungalow costs $3.5 million. And not a lot of people have that kind of coin lying around. So, and this church is a historic Black church, which has been in Palo Alto for we're on our 102nd, 103rd year.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so there's a lot of people who are commuting to the church now. So we needed to meet people where they were at. So that's why we started like using Zoom groups for digital small groups. We started live streaming our worship services. Oh, your internet connection is unstable. The new PC load letter. Am I back?
Yeah, you're there.
We never lost you.
Okay. Yeah, I got the I got the current day PC load letter of your internet connection is unstable.
Yeah.
So we've been live streaming because part of the members of our congregation are Stanford students. And so they don't stay here forever. They graduate, they get jobs, they lead their lives, but they've wanted to stay connected to the church community. And one of the ways to do that has been to live stream the services. And so initially the live streaming started off kind of simple, but then the AME Zion Church received a grant from its district to actually completely overhaul the sanctuary for its 100th anniversary. So with that overhaul came like with the refinishing of the pews, the cleaning of the carpet, but it also came with all new AV equipment. So we got screens, we have a confidence screen in the back for the praise team. There's a whole new like soundboard, which is like made with like gossamer and moonbeams. And so we've had to play with lighting, we've had to play with speakers and sound. And so that aspect of it has really been a journey for the people of University AME Zion. And having a tech team in place now too, to make sure that worship is effectively live streamed as well. And so part of it has just been, a lot of it has been experiential learning of like, oh, wow, we've discovered this works really well. And we've discovered that this doesn't work at all. But we also live in Silicon Valley. So one of the benefits is having software engineers instead of having to, right. So instead of having like, we have people who can write the software for us.
Wow.
In order to do like live streaming and Zoom and like multiple platforms simultaneously. But I also know that that's also a very unique thing.
Okay, so what was the name of your church again? Is it University?
University AME Zion in Palo Alto. Yep.
Okay, so North Carolina is not under a lockdown or shelter in place yet, but rumor has it it's coming.
By the way, I'm adding links to everybody's church here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be great, because then that way we can share resources of like how we are digitally communicating with one another.
Yeah.
With that, I would also put AME Zion's Facebook page, and we also have, I don't know if you've heard of Faith Life.
No.
Okay, so Faith Life is another social media platform, but the name indicates Faith Life, so it's pretty much like, it's entirely faith-based. And so when it comes to like a lot of our church content, we've been putting a lot of that information on Faith Life for like our AME Zion community. But for like the general world, we've been using a lot of Facebook as of recent.
Let's see, we initially used Facebook Live for our broadcasts, for our webcasts, and on Friday morning I got a email from Outreach, which is a evangelical, which is evangelism. They print cards and they print postcards and invite cards and posters and all that stuff. They offered a website called freechurchonline.com, And so I was able to put Stokesdale. I was able to sign up for a free account, and I can broadcast my Facebook Live broadcast without logging into Facebook. And so people who are afraid of Facebook, we just okay. Hi.
Hey.
Okay, so what I was saying was freechurchonline.com offers an ability to show your Facebook webcasts without logging into Facebook. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's a tip to know.
I'm sharing links right now. I'm looking at it.
Right.
Huh.
And if you go to our website and hit the live exclamation point, it'll go to our site, and you can customize it to welcome people and show where your church is.
That's cool.
Yeah, and your donate button.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Okay, so like I this is also part of like why like I called Bobby and I'm like, you know, who do we need to talk to? Because I think like we're also in a time where a lot of us are trying to recreate wheels or create a new wheel. And so I think like if we're going to be the body of Christ, how do we best help one another be that body?
Right.
So how did, real quick.
That was a Friday morning discovery. I mean, I was in my PJs and I got it and I was like, I got to put this out there. And by 11 o'clock, we were live.
So where do you sign up? I'm looking here. Do you go to contact or?
I don't know. See, I'll tell you what, I'll email you. I'll email y'all the email I got.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
That would be awesome. Dude, because we're going to sign up for this right now.
Oh yeah, I am so forwarding this to the pastor I work with.
This is very cool. That's why I was going to ask you, like, you got your own watch page on Facebook?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I started Googling immediately, like, how do we create a watch page?
Okay, so what's your email addresses?
You want me to put them in here in the chat area?
Sure.
I put mine in there. Are you typing yours in? There it is.
Yeah. With a name like TV Rasche, you should have your own television channel.
Yeah, no joke.
Ha! Right.
All right.
Huh.
Okay, Bobby.
This is very cool.
All right, I sent it.
Sweet.
Sweet. Thank you.
I'm super excited here.
Nice.
Oh, it's freeonlinechurch.com. My bad.
Oh, got it. Okay, because I have Free Church Online.
Okay, this is money. Oh, I'm excited. Ed, this is why I love talking to rural churches, because they are so innovative and entrepreneurial that you go out and find things that normal medium churches that have budgets, they just go buy things. You know, like my committee has roughly about $4,000 a year for the communications committee. And I can use that for whatever the communications initiatives are that year. And you go bigger churches, they have, I mean, you exponentially grow that. Like my brother-in-law is one of the campus pastors for a church called New Spring, which is one of the top 10 biggest churches in the country. And they have a massive production team. It's bigger than most television stations. So like all they do is produce the actual events, and they go out and shoot stories on a weekly basis. Like it is a full-fledged production and storytelling crew, and because they have the resources, that's what they do as a part of what they. And so you talk to them, it's like, okay, we're just going to go buy something. We just buy. Where rural churches were like, how do we innovate with no budget or little budget?
Yes. For example, instead of me buying a TV, I took the TV out of the Sunday school classroom and put it in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
So we also have an account with One Call Now, which is a phone tree system. And we are underusing that. We were just using it for phones, but we're paying for people to use. We can use it for emails and also text messages. So last week I deployed my congregational care team to call every church member to make sure that we have all their accurate information, because everybody, including the seniors, are dropping their landlines and using only their cell phones, but they're not telling the church that they only have their cell phones. So they're not getting our one calls, and they're complaining, saying, we haven't gotten your one call. Say, well, what's your phone number? Well, that's not the one we have. So we don't have ESP or anything. So we have called every church member, which is about 100 households, I think. And we had 5 people call 20 people each. And we got our immediate feedback was positive. We got some bad news, like a church member died last week and they didn't tell us, but they, whatever. Eventually, we hope to use our one call system to text, email, and call everybody, not just call.
Yep. So let me ask you this. Has anybody come up with a way to, for instance, take like our live stream, a video live stream of the service, and without trying to create a crazy technology to do it, basically put it into either into just like a conference call where people could dial in and listen to it, or one church, I can't figure out how they did it, where they can just ask Alexa to listen to that live stream. And so I've been researching.
What? I don't want Alexa in my house, though.
I know, but like, for instance, one church in Aiken has figured out how the elderly can just say, Alexa, play Boulevard Service, and it'll start playing during that live period. So those are things we're looking at. We're looking at the conference call option as for someone that maybe driving could just dial in and listen to it. So I'm trying to figure out how to connect that into a conference call, if that makes sense. So if anybody figures that out, let me know.
Yo, I'm going to be looking at that today. But I think like the other thing that I've also been wondering about is like how do we connect with parishioners on the other side of the screen? Because like that's been something that I've really been like really pondering and thinking about, that like, because I think part of worship for me as a Lutheran is call and response.
Yep.
And it's really hard to know that, like, I know that people are responding on the other end, but it's also been really hard to not be in that physical space to know that the response is there. And so like, I think like this is the reliance on my faith of like the God, the God-given gift of faith of like, I trust that people are there responding.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
So I think
that's been a part of it.
we look at the likes, and we encourage people to, like, we have a prayer request time. Please type in your prayer requests.
Mm-hmm.
Please let us know you're there.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what we've also been doing at university, is that like the first week for entirely online worship, when we had gone to shelter in place, was that we've actually come up with like a list of recommendations of like, here's how we know that this is really weird for everybody, and like if this is your first time, here's some ways to make this feel like worship. So I can put that link into the chat as well, of like, really setting that time aside, and not like having your Twitter feed on the back scroll.
Right.
Engaging in prayer, that we do have that time of prayer where we can respond with prayer requests. But I'm also noticing, like within Facebook Live, that we have people responding with requests, and there are people who they're parishioners that I do know, but there are also people around the country who I've never met who are like, you're on my prayer list, and I'm going to go pray right now.
Another way I've been kind of thinking about it is that we push our live stream to 2 platforms. We push it to Facebook and YouTube. And there's a reason why, is that for many people, they like to just click the link and YouTube pops up. Whereas some people are more comfortable in a mobile setting, just watching on the Facebook Live. And so one of our thoughts is potentially taking an iPad and just putting it on the pulpit and turning the volume down so that you don't hear the feedback loop, but so whoever is engaging from a ministerial standpoint can look and say, oh, here's a question, I'll respond to it. Or here's a comment, thank you. So it's almost like acknowledging that you're there when you're not there.
I did that on Thursday. We have a Thursday night service called Word and Table with usually about 8 people, but Thursday was just my wife and I. And I put my laptop up so I could see who was who was there.
Right.
And then I could ask a question. And Word Table is a contemplative worship service, and we ask questions and we expect responses. And so I was hoping to get a response. I didn't get many, but I did do that. We have to know that there's like a 5 or 6 second delay between live and there's a 5 or 6 seconds. So you have to really prolong your question, your answer time, You have to know that.
Right. The other thing that in a Baptist world, and I'm not trying to stereotype it here, but let's just say for our church, in our Baptist world, worship, we have more of a traditional looking worship. Where,
what does that mean in the Baptist sense?
In the Baptist sense, I would say if you walk in, it feels like it's not a praise and worship where it's very interactive, a lot of contemporary music. This is
pulpit in the middle, right?
Yeah, corporate in the middle.
Pulpit in the middle.
Pulpit in the middle, very corporate. And people go through that process of stand up, sit down. There's an order of worship that we follow. And things come from the front of the church as opposed to dialogue between congregational members and the pulpit. And so it's the church speaking to the congregation, creating the experience. Whereas the Wednesday is an interactive piece. It's a teaching and talking. And so we've created worship as a delivery mechanism through the online platform. Like, we're creating a worship experience, let's give it to the people to consume. Whereas Wednesday is a Zoom call where anybody can come in and there's a prayer session, but people talk. There's crosstalk. And so it's the space in a private setting like Zoom where only those that have the link can get in to share. And it's a private share session. And so it's now, I'm starting to wonder if this new paradigm is going to challenge the ministers to make worship more interactive, because they feel less interactive by delivering to a camera and they want more interaction. Or will it be that we still follow in our traditional spaces as we move forward in our interactive space? Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think like the answer to that question is yes. Super helpful.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Yeah, so I've seen videos of choirs doing Zoom calls and doing rehearsals or singing songs. Like, so we have like 40 people on a Zoom call and they're all singing the same song. So
Awesome.
that, if that's the future, oh my God. I hope that's not the case. But there is technology out there to have a real-time choir. So
Right.
what the heck? So I actually have not seen the video, so I don't know how good it is, and I don't know how doctored it's been. But I've seen people try that, and I'm thinking about, I might have to look into the Zoom call for Word and Table.
Yep.
Because that's like 8 people. That's something we can do, and also for meetings and other things.
And also, I think like Zoom is like, getting a lot of play right now. But also realizing, if people do have access to Google Hangouts,
Yep.
thinking about like what is accessible and what is affordable. Because I think like Zoom, yes, you can have a free account, but like you can only have a 40-minute meeting and then it's done. But then also like the oddity of Google Hangouts is like, you need to have a Google account. And so it's trying to figure out like how to balance all of these technologies that we've all been exposed to and that we all have somehow like have some form of interaction with, but I don't know if we have like full dedication to it.
Yeah, Facebook has a similar thing too. And I did it last Wednesday. I did a lectionary group meeting via Facebook. And I had 8 people on my phone.
Yep.
And it was a whole lot like the beginning of the Brady Bunch. It was really kind of
fun. Yeah, when you like start seeing the screens and
right.
So I just posted a link from, it's called Digital Evangelism. It's a website by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they have done a really phenomenal job of creating an online space for digital resources for churches right now. So I just posted a link where they're just basically putting out resources for churches to use. Like, this is how you live stream. Here are the resources for a live stream video. Here are all the links. So it's a complete guide of downloadable resources, and their Twitter feed is phenomenal. If you follow Digital Evangelism on Twitter, I tell you what, they are posting a lot of really amazing resources for churches to consider when they're trying to create strategy and tactics on how to connect with people and how to keep this going.
Yeah.
Whatever they're doing, I mean, they have a lot of people pulling this together. It is a really good resource. I just shared it there. I really enjoyed that resource. Well, we are embracing on 7 minutes until the hour is complete. And I definitely want to be respectful to everybody's time. I know we've got busy days. I actually have to do my day job now, try to generate income for my family. But really, I am just so thankful of this community. I'm thankful for both of y'all and your connections. And Ed, I really appreciate your time, because you once again have proven that the rural church is a tremendous resource, especially in this time, because y'all, and I say y'all as I stereotype you, y'all in the rural church, you really find ways to innovate that many churches struggle to think inside that space.